Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video is going to be an update on the daily chemtrail dumpings going on over the San Francisco Bay Area. And I'd like to emphasize the word greater San Francisco Bay Area. I'm going to discuss what I witnessed personally between 12:45 p.m. and 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon, January 22nd, 2023. I personally witnessed active chemtrail dumpings going on over Contra Costa County and extending out to Alameda County, City of Oakland, where the military jets made a U-turn and returned to Travis Air Force Base in Fairfield, Solano County, home of the Zodiac. All right, what I wanted to tell you is that's the first time I've ever actually seen the military jets low enough and close enough to my eyesight and saw which air base they were returning to. I saw two military KC-135 planes following each other nose to tail. They were approximately a mile gap between them, maybe it was a kilometer, and they were descending, and I witnessed them at probably around 8,000 feet as they grew closer and closer to the city of Antioch, Rio Vista, where they would then start their landing protocols to land at Travis Air Force Base, which I'm very familiar with since I used to race motorcycles less than 7 miles from one of the two main airstrips they have there. I raced at Argyle Park in Dixon in a rice field, a rice paddy field where the motorcycle track was carved into. We used to see C-5s fly over there. Just so you know your history, Travis Air Force Base was initially established as an Army airborne base in 1942, which is the date that the Edwards Air Force Base out in Lancaster, California, that was established in 1942, as was the Navy weapons facility called China Lake, which is basically clandestine service controlled OSS, United States Navy weapons testing facility in a ginormous area of over 12,000 square miles of airspace out in the desert near Mojave. It extends to Mojave. That is where Charlie Miles Maddox was arrested for graffiti of the Bureau of Land Management Mojave Desert sign and held in the county jail of Inyo County in Independence for about 4 months until they dropped his graffiti charges and arraigned him for through a grand jury charade facility hearing 7 counts of first-degree murder, having never been present for the murder of any human being ever. So you should know that China Lake facility for the Navy is so large, it's 2 counties. It's Kern County and it's Inyo County of California. Travis Air Force Base is one of the largest Air Force bases that we have. We have 6 active Air Force bases in California. 6. We had 7. But one has been deactivated, allegedly. We also have over 41 military bases in California when you add in the United States Navy, which has the most facilities, the United States Marines, which has, I think, 9 facilities, and the United States Army. If you add up the Army and the Air Force and the Marines and the Navy, we have 41. Then you can throw the Coast Guard into that too, because we have a number of Coast Guard facilities as well. What I wanted to tell you is I now am telling you personally, and I'm documented on this video, that I now know, and I have long suspected, that aluminum oxide and whatever else they put on those KC-135 cargo planes, those are typically used to refuel jets in flight, like the SR-71 spy plane was, and other aircraft. But they can certainly be refitted, refitted for aluminum oxide with hoses and nozzles and hydraulic pumping facilities to dump that toxic metal waste, microns, onto human civilized populations as part of DARPA or part of CIA Operation Sea Spray, which has been well documented to have begun over the San Francisco Bay Area 1953. And this airport was established in 1942. It was converted to the United States Air Force in 1951 and named after the Brigadier General who crashed his B-29 bomber in Solano County. So they named the Army base after the misguided General Travis. I'll get into that in a second here. So I want to tell you, on Sunday I went out for a bike ride, and I rode my bike out to the Skaggs Island facility off of Rommel Road. You can Google this. This is history that is hiding in plain view, people. It's history that's hiding in plain view, and nobody seems to know anything about it, including the men that go out there to shoot innocent birds in the wetlands, because it's all part of the Skaggs Island wetlands facility. In case you don't know where the name Skaggs comes from, that didn't come from under a rock either. This area is a over 3,000 acre wetlands, part of South Sonoma County, and it has the Sonoma Creek cuts through it into the North Bay, San Pablo Bay. This is where Wolf Grojanka, also known as Bill Graham, was murdered in his Bell 206B helicopter. I was literally walking distance for where Bill Graham was murdered, except it is a wetland, so you have to have a boat to get from where I was to where Bill Graham was murdered in that helicopter back in 1991. But I'm here to tell you that it's very close where I was. I was at a Navy radio top secret facility, which allegedly is out of service. However, it's still gated and it's still bordered with a concertina wire, barbed wire trimmed fence. So I realized that many of the buildings have been demolished over the years. It was decommissioned in 1993, so it was quite active when Bill Graham was murdered. This thing was 100% secure and operational when Bill Graham was murdered, but my supposition is it's still active today. It's still active today. Anyway, as the crow flies from where I was positioned at the gate for the Skaggs Springs area, where this Navy base is, and I'm going to give you the name of it. It's a radio station. Let me just tell you what it is. It's called Skaggs Island Navy Communication Station, and it's formerly run by the United States Navy. It's probably today run by the CIA. Anyway, it's located near California State Route 37. That's the highway that Bill Graham was murdered on, at Sonoma Creek, which is where I was. I was at Sonoma Creek at the Skaggs Island Navy Communication Center. That's where I was, which is approximately 18 miles as the crow flies from where the 6 chemtrails that I personally witnessed. I saw a 7th chemtrail in a perpendicular fashion running north from south to north as I was watching the 6 chemtrails running east to west, running from the city of Antioch over the United States Naval Weapons Depot station in Concord, California, through Pleasant Hill, Walnut Creek, Alamo, Lafayette, Moraga, St. Mary's College, over Skyline Boulevard into the city of Oakland, where the military jets turned and made a U-turn to return and descend to Travis Air Force Base in Solano County in the city of Fairfield. There are over 3,000 civilian employees that work at the Travis Air Force Base facility. There's 7,000 airmen, and then there are another 4,000 National Guard that can be called in to facilitate the Travis operation. Skaggs Island was once a thriving tidal marsh that was adjacent to San Pablo Bay. It's where Sonoma Creek feeds into. It is part of the Pacific Flyway for migratory birds, and it was used extensively by the Native American Indians, you know, who we chased out of here in the 1800s. And it was named after Morton Skaggs. Let me give you a little background on who this knucklehead is, right? Myron Barton Skaggs. He was born on April 5th, 1888. He died on May 8th, 1976. He was an American grocer. He came from a grocery family, the Skaggs family. They sold their grocery stores, which formed Safeway, which is a major supermarket chain in California. So, in other words, he's coming from a very wealthy status. His father, S.M. Skaggs, was a Baptist minister and believed that we should have self-service style grocery stores. And his father established a store in American Falls, Idaho. He sold groceries for cash, and he passed on the savings from not offering credit to his customers in the form, allegedly, of lower prices. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, the Skaggs wetlands became part of the United States Navy in and around 1941, and you should know that that is when the Disney Studios partnered with the United States Air Force to build a 100,000 square foot 5-studio facility underground at 8935 Wonderland Avenue in Laurel Canyon, above the Truesdale Estates where Elvis Presley lived and where Elton John has a house today. Just above where Elton John's home is, with his 24 bathrooms, which is required to host the Academy Awards parties for the people that do not attend the Dolby Theater. They go to Elton John's home in the Truesdale Estates. That's why you need 24 bathrooms, because you're not going to haul 24 porta potties into that Beverly Hills enclave. All right, so what I wanted to tell you is I personally witnessed 4 airplanes, and I'm going to call them KC-135s because that's what they looked at like, and I'm very familiar with the KC-135s. I'm also very familiar with the SR-71, and I've personally witnessed low-flight maneuvers with the KC-135 and the SR-71 at Beale Air Force Base, which is another Air Force base in close proximity to what I'm talking about, although it is a couple hundred miles to the north. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you is that it would only take a KC-135 flying out of Travis Air Force Base 10 minutes to get in position by Rio Vista and Antioch, and then to release the booms and to get however long it takes to get to about 28,000 feet, which is, I think, their dumping range. 20 to 25,000 feet is, I think, when they're dumping this aluminum oxide. That's when I'm estimating that. And this was a 18 to 20 mile long chemtrail. I saw 4 chemtrails that were approximately 18 to 20 miles long, which is the longest I've ever seen. Normally they're 8 to 10 miles long. This was double the normal length of chemtrails. And they were being dumped from Rio Vista, Antioch, through Pittsburgh, through Concord, over the Naval Weapons Depot, over Pleasant Hill, Walnut Creek, over Lafayette, Alamo, over to St. Mary's College, through the west part of Moraga, up to Skyline Boulevard, and then concluding somewhere around Oakland, Alameda County, and before San Francisco. It looked like they didn't go as far as San Francisco. They turned around around San Francisco and headed back to base, Travis Air Force Base. Looking up at the sky, I saw 2 KC-135s, nose to tail, returning obviously to Travis Air Force Base. They were dropping, and fell out of my view when they were landing. There's a small little lumpy hill that obscured, obviously they're landing. They're either landing or they're going to have to land on Highway 80, the highway. So the only airport that's there is the Travis Air Force Base. So it doesn't take a lot to figure out that's where they took off and that's where they landed. And they dumped their toxic waste over a 20-mile chemtrail And you should know that there was another plane that was going perpendicular direction from what looks like Stanford University, Palo Alto area, north to San Francisco. So somebody was looking after dumping over the peninsula and San Francisco. And I don't know that that plane emanated from Travis Air Force Base. It could have taken off from Moffett in Sunnyvale or Mountain View, California. They have numerous military air bases in Santa Clara County. So that plane could have come from Santa Clara County in the South Bay. But I saw two planes actively dumping the chemtrails in the east to west pattern. I saw two Air KC-135s returning the opposite direction, heading back eastward to Travis Air Force Base. So I just wanted you to know that. I also wanted you to be aware of the little history here that we have this military relic, Skag Island, which I believe is still functioning today, just like the James Bond film where they showed that old sunken passenger ship in the harbor of Hong Kong, and then you find out that Admiral Bond, goes down the chimney, and they have a whole British intelligence facility in there. Well, that's what I think what I would call the Skaggs Island Navy and Communication Center is still active. And the reason I say that is the gate that's a kilometer away from where the facility is now locked. And it was unlocked for the last 20 years. So what the heck's going on? So I'm saying that they've got that place buttoned up now. That's a recent development, and it does coincide with this massive increase in chemtrail dumpings. I found a website called Lost America where the military is hiding in plain view, and there's all these photographs of the building structures that existed in Skaggs Island. And the author claims that they've all been destroyed now. But I'm here to tell you that's not true. They're not 100% destroyed. A lot of the structures, the barracks and bachelor quarters and administrative buildings, have been razed and the debris taken away. However, it could have an underground facility, and I do know that there's a perimeter fence line with concertina wire that still exists to this day, and there's no reason to do that if everything's been abandoned. And I'm telling you, it is not abandoned. They're saying they abandoned it in 1993, which was 2 years after Bill Graham was murdered, walking distance from this place. You should also know there's something that is 200 meters away from the control facility of the Skaggs Island Naval Communication Center that is known as the circulatory antenna. It's called the Skaggs Island Circulatory Antenna. It's a very elaborate systems of antennas in a donut shape. And of course, nobody knows what that's for, but it's secretive, it's secure, it's a self-contained Navy base. And given the fact that there's all this aluminum pollution in the air and that we have a 5G mesh system now, and having personally been given a tour of the Pave Pause projects at Beale Air Force Base, where they tried to tell me that was a defensive system for surveillance and detection of submarine-based ballistic missiles, I'm here to tell you that everything that is portrayed by the military as defensive means it can be offensive as well. When was the last time an aircraft carrier division was required for defense? The only reason you have aircraft carriers is to assert your will onto others. It's an offensive weapons system. And I'm here to tell you that the Pave Pause project can pulse out high-frequency radio waves. And the reason I say that is because the only people that I saw working there work for Raytheon Missile Guidance Systems and Nokia Bell Laboratories. And there is no reason to have those people there if you're in the defense business. They're in the targeting business, targeting weaponry business. So you people that are concerned about the World Trade Center and never getting enough answers, I'm here to tell you direct energy weapons were involved in the destruction of those three towers. Those three towers. The Twin Towers, Building 1 and 2, and Building 7, which had no airplane go anywhere near it. Those buildings were not leveled by any fires. They weren't leveled by any explosions. They weren't leveled by any cockamamie ridiculous airplanes. They were taken out through sophisticated direct energy weapons that can liquefy steel in 1/100th of a nanosecond. You need Raytheon guided systems to do that. You need pulsing systems to do that. You need radio frequencies to do that. You need RCA Victor to do that. You need aluminum chemtrails in the sky, which takes the glare of the sun and multiplies it times 100 times. Look into the sun, people. Tell me if I'm wrong. It is so much more blinding now that there's all this aluminum pollution in our atmosphere. Never mind in our lungs. All right, that's my report. That is my report for Sunday, January 22nd, 2023. The world behind me is at stake. And look, I ran into a duck hunter out there, and he was dumber than a box of hammers. I asked, what do you think about those chemtrails up in the air? And he goes, I think I'm going to eat my sandwich now. In other words, here's a guy who supposedly cares about the environment, and he won't even look up at the sky. I said, just look up at it. Look right. He goes, oh, those are vapors. I said, why don't you look at them? When was the last time you saw a vapor trail that lasted 18 miles? 4 of them. And then you have a 5th one going perpendicular from military planes, not passenger planes. That's not a flight pattern into Oakland or San Francisco International Airport. No, no, no. No, those are military planes flown out of Travis Air Force Base. This idiot that wants to kill birds wants to eat a sandwich, not concerned in the least. That sums up the fact that 99% of the people on this planet are going to become transistors. They're going to have aluminum in them. Some are going to die of heart attacks and cancer and strokes, and some of them are going to be remote controlled by this radio frequency planet, and they're essentially going to be transistorized, steel-belted zombies. That's my observation from this last weekend. Have a great day. Please hit the like and subscribe. Bye-bye now.